Breaking news tonight, U.S. Judge Ralph Erickson just released his ruling to issue a temporary injunction on the EPA's Waters of the U.S. ruling that was supposed to go into effect tomorrow right here in North Dakota, obviously across the country. Now, North Dakota is one of 13 states that are part of this lawsuit, and this is a huge, huge win for farmers and landowners, at least for now. Good evening and welcome to 630 Point of View. I'm Chris Berg. Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to get right to tonight's top story. Yesterday, the Daily Beast reported that this past legislative session, North Dakota legalized weaponized drones with less than lethal weapons, such as rubber bullets, pepper spray, tear gas, and tasers. This was all in House Bill 1328, and this is thanks to a guy by the name of Bruce Burkett. He's the lobbyist for the North Dakota Peace Officers Association. Seems kind of ironic. Here's an idea of what these drones could look and act like.
Buckshot that are available for large crowd dispersements. You have a flare marking device as well that can be utilized. Now, the tear gas canister, it can be deployed as far as altitude from 100 feet.
100 feet up and tear gas being thrown at you. Is that something that you want in monitoring situations? I mean, maybe such as in, let's take some examples, Ferguson, Baltimore, or anywhere in North Dakota for that matter. I mean, my concern really is that with all the militarization of police these days, do these types of drones do what many law enforcement agencies say they actually want to do, and that's improve community policing? So it becomes this sort of, hey, we together are protecting our community rather than a we versus you type of conversation. I believe those kind of drones can potentially create, also when they're weaponized with tasers. I want to show you a video of a drone that has an 80,000, yes, you heard me correct, 80,000 volt taser. You're about to see an intern actually demonstrate how this thing works. And please pay close attention to what happens after this person gets tased. So there they go to check him out. Like, dude, are you okay? He's like, oh, what? Now you got other guys that come over. You can see he's not moving. You got to ask yourself, does this guy ever get up? And I assume that he does, at least at some point. But one important thing to note, already in the year 2015, 39 people have been killed by police tasers. We posted the article yesterday on social media, and here's what @BOW227 tweeted out. This is terrifying and illegal. So with us now to discuss what's going on here and also really drafted the bill, House Bill 1328, North Dakota Representative Rick Becker. Representative Becker, thanks so much for joining us. I guess for everybody that wasn't aware, and I don't know if I really am as well, what was the initial premise of your bill?
Well, the premise was it was very simple actually, to require law enforcement to have a search warrant in order to conduct surveillance on a private citizen.
So the lobbyist then slips this language in, and correct me if I'm wrong with any of this as we're going along here, lobbyist slips the language in. What did this bill get passed by? Was it a huge majority or not?
Well, it passed by a nice margin. Now, I guess I can be a little bit more detailed that, you know, we wanted to have a law that would address this new technology. North Dakota's on the forefront, and we wanted to protect civil liberties and make something that seemed to be potentially a gray area very clear, black and white. And so the requirement of a search warrant was the first and foremost thing, but we wanted to make it more encompassing, make it more proactive, actually have it be potentially model legislation for other states. And so we included other things, which I included prohibition of weaponization of the drones, both lethal and non-lethal. Then the process, the sausage making, as they say, of creating this law, it went through committee. There apparently was law enforcement lobbyists that did say that although we will probably not support the bill, we won't oppose it if you include certain amendments, one of which was to remove the prohibition of non-lethal weapons.
Are you shocked to hear that 39 people have been killed already by police tasers?
Well, it's a little surprising, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and so my question to you is this. Let's say that I have got one of these 80,000 volt drone tasers. I want to go take that out to do whatever I'm going to do as a law enforcement agency. What's the checks and balance on that? Is that now they have to go out and get a warrant before something like that is used, or what's the checks and balances there?
No, well, the warrant is required to conduct surveillance. Now, there are 3 exclusions for requiring a warrant. One of those is a general category called exigent circumstances. And that would be if, for instance, a criminal was barricaded, was on the run, had a hostage, something that poses potential imminent threat to the officers or to another individual, no warrant is required. And so a UAS or a drone could hover above and monitor things, provide a reconnaissance, if you will, to the folks on the ground, make it much more safe for the officers. And then now, as it stands with this law, that those drones could be able to be deploying non-lethal weapons.
Wow.
And if I could, Chris, one thing I want to make really clear. I heard in the teaser something about the sponsor of legislation which legalizes non-lethal weapons on drones, and I want to be clear, this does not do that. This bill only provided for restrictions on law enforcement. Number 1, for search warrants, and number 2, the elimination of lethal force. Unfortunately, the non-lethal was taken out as far as a prohibition, but it's important to understand that it was previously allowed, at least we have to assume it was allowed, because there was no restriction on it. So this didn't provide for a new allowance for law enforcement to suddenly be able to equip the drones with weapons. So I want to make that very clear.
Well, we are the first state to do this, at least from this article, and I guess that's my concern, is that if there's really no checks and balances. We had a situation here recently, Representative, where there were some kids out, they had a telescope, someone called in thinking it was a giant gun, the cops came over, in their mind inappropriately sort of went after these guys, and I guess that's where you have these rubs is, boy, what if the cops would have put a drone out there and started shooting rubber bullets or things of that nature? Last question for you is this, sir. If I'm the average Joe citizen, because the way the bill reads, is it only for law enforcement agencies, or some people here in the building are saying, hey, this could potentially be the average Joe citizen that could go get non-lethal weaponized drones as well. Is that accurate?
This bill doesn't, or this law does not address anything with private citizens. It's strictly limited to restrictions on law enforcement. So other laws that are currently in place would have to apply to the appropriateness of whether a private citizen is employing a weapon appropriately or inappropriately, and there's other aspects to that.
Representative Becker, thank you so much for your time, sir. Obviously a very interesting and fascinating conversation.
Thank you.
All right, stay with us.